Imagine tapping into your body's natural mechanisms to burn fat, preserve muscle, enhance your cognitive abilities, and even clean up cellular waste and debris around the body. Now, this isn't science fiction. It's actually the power of intermittent fasting. And today we're going to do a deep dive and all the science behind why I think intermittent fasting can actually reverse your age and help you lose fat and keep your muscle. Now, I know intermittent fasting has grown in popularity due to the evidence-based benefits that people are experiencing. So let's dive into the science behind the benefits of intermittent fasting. So number one, as you know, we have quicker fat loss. It actually accelerates fat loss by tapping into fat storages. So it naturally shifts the body to metabolize and burn fat much quicker. Now, it does this even more so when you actually put a workout right after you wake up. And if you're doing a 16-hour fast, you're basically burning fat and you're tapping into the storages quicker. There was a study that showed that young men actually lost an average of 17 pounds in about 2 months by simply doing intermittent fasting. And what we mean is doing a 16-hour fast every single day. So for example, if you stop eating at 10 p.m., let's just say, you won't eat again till around 1 or 2 o'clock the next day. Now, I know that sounds like torture, but you can start with a 10-hour fast or 12-hour fast. Simply just skip breakfast and delay your lunch. Over time, your stomach will actually naturally shrink because it's just a muscle. Now, the second thing for quicker fat loss is that norepinephrine, which is a catecholamine that's produced similar to adrenaline and even epinephrine, and growth hormone releases during fasting, which promotes fat utilization, resulting in fat loss. Okay, now number two is the preservation of muscle. So you actually keep your muscle. And we're not talking like huge, crazy muscles, right? We're talking about that lean, slender look. So if you're a female watching this, you're not going to be all bulky, okay? So the first thing is growth hormone, as we mentioned. It spikes during fasting. So this aids in muscle preservation. A lot of people think I'm going to be starving and I'm going to have muscle wasting. It's just simply not true. There was a study in the Journal of Medical Sciences that showed no loss of lean muscle mass even after fasting over 120 hours. So that's right, 120 hours. So that's a total of 5 days with no muscle mass lost. The clients actually kept their muscle. That was a study done back in 2017. Okay, now the step number 3 here is mental clarity. So fasting actually enhances your mental clarity. So if you're struggling with brain fog and energy deficits, this can boost your mental clarity and get you focused. So the science behind it is actually the ketones. As your body burns fat for fuel, ketones are released, which actually is a protectant and a fuel source for the brain. Now, there was a study showing that cognitive improvements were linked to increased ketone body production in 2020 in the paper of Aging Research Reviews. So remember, ketones circulating in the body is actually really good for the brain, and that's why you feel so good when you do intermittent fasting. Now, step number 4 is cleaning up cellular waste. This is what's called autophagy. So cells get rid of old, dysfunctional, crusty components, or even these zombie cells, those luminescent cells. But really the key number is doing the fast after 16 hours. So prolonged fast for about 2 to 3 days are the best results with cellular waste. So obviously, if you're cleaning up waste around the body and not letting it accumulate like how we normally do when we age, there's a potential to reduce aging signs, which is obviously you're going to look younger, right? And the key term they used in the Life of Science in 2019 was lower disease risk, which makes sense because if you're cleaning up the waste, you're not letting those zombie cells turn into dysfunctional cells in the body. Now, another benefit includes improved heart health and blood sugar regulation, which makes sense, right? Because the cells in the heart, if we get rid of those zombie cells or the ones causing dysfunction, then we're only going to replicate the best, strongest cells inside the body, which the heart cells will be improved, and even the cells inside the pancreas will be improved, which helps regulate sugar because they make insulin. All right, now let's talk about the implementation guidelines for effective, safe intermittent fasting. So you want to write this down. So step number 1, you want to write this down. Start with a meal to break your fast that is rich in fiber and healthy fats as well as protein. So a great example of this is something like a chicken salad with avocado. You do not want to use carbohydrates when you break your fast. Using carbohydrates when you break your fast is actually going to give you a really big sugar spike and negate a lot of the fat loss properties that we just did over that 16-hour fast. Now, speaking of 16-hour fast, number 2, it's always recommended for beginners to try to strive for that 16 hours, or basically 16 to 8 method. 16 hours fasted, and you have an 8-hour feeding window. Now, you can go longer than that, but that's the therapeutic range that everyone likes to use in the industry. So if you can't get to 16 hours, just simply start with a 10-hour one and work your way up. Remember, the stomach is a muscle, and it'll actually shrink over time if you stop feeding it or really overloading it. Okay, number 3 is kind of controversial. So it says to drink only 0-calorie beverages during fast, but you want to stay away from artificial sweeteners found in Diet Coke, Coke Zero. We're talking aspartame, we're talking sucralose, those kind of things. Now, the reason for that is because it causes insulin spikes. The body thinks that it's natural sugar, so as the insulin spikes up, so does fat. So you're not going to really get those fat loss benefits. So the best way to do this is to do something natural, like monk fruit or even stevia. And they actually sell stevia soda cans. And those are both 0 calories and they're natural. So it doesn't trick your body into those insulin spikes. All right, number 4 is breaking the fast here. So you want to avoid those sudden insulin spikes. Remember, fats, fiber, and protein. You want to break your fast with that. You're not going to go out to the gas station and get a Twinkie. You're not going to do a bagel. You're not going to do these white carbs because that is going to spike your insulin, leading to fat. So remember, try to go with a salad. If you don't want to go to a salad, let's say you're going to the hamburger spot, like In-N-Out. I don't even want to mention McDonald's, but let's just say you're on the road. The best thing you can do is get a protein wrap, basically a lettuce wrap, with a hamburger inside with cheese, and that has fat and lettuce. Okay, number 5 is, can you exercise in a fasted state? Well, yes, you can. There's been multiple studies that prove exercising in a fasted state can actually double your fat loss. But the key thing is you want to exercise earlier in the day because there's something called the afterburn effect. Basically, after you stop working out, your metabolism is still really high, so you're gonna get those afterburn effects. The worst thing you can do is work out and then eat right after it. Because if you eat right after it, guys, you're not gonna get those afterburn effects. You're not gonna get the huge fat loss effects. Number 6 is extending those fast periods can actually amplify the benefits. But remember, always listen to your body. My longest fast I've ever done was only 3 days. And I would do that consistently every single month for the first 6 months of the year. Now, I've heard people doing 5-day fast, 7-day fast, even Jesus did a 40-day fast. But guys, listen to your body and always do what you consider to be safe. Number 7 is be mindful of supplements. So in the morning, you're not going to want to take your omega-3s, your MCT oils, even your olive oils, because that will break your fast. Always save that to your feeding window when you're eating in that 8-hour time frame. Okay, number 8 is probably one of the most important ones. Hydration, salt, sleep, and stress management. So remember, sipping on water, we're trying to get half your body weight in ounces. So let's just say I'm 200 pounds, I want to get 100 ounces a day. And anything more than that is good. We also want to add salt because remember, as we're drinking, we're going to be diluting the salt in our body. This is what's called hemodilution. So we're going to be peeing out because we're not really eating anything. So we want to supplement with salt inside the water. Dr. Huberman talks a lot about this. If you don't know who Dr. Huberman is, he is a professor at Stanford who has like 4 million subscribers on YouTube. Amazing. His scientific papers and research alone has pretty much revolutionized our social media space for education. Okay, the third one is sleep and stress management. Guys, you want to make sure that you're sleeping correctly and managing your stress. Because as you know, there's a certain stress hormone called cortisol. The good part about cortisol is actually it wakes you up in the morning, gets you going and moving and grooving. The bad part about cortisol is when you don't have good sleep and you're stressed out all the time, can actually make you gain weight around the belly area and those love handles. So managing your stress and balancing your hormones with sleep, and trust me, Dr. Huberman talks all about how to get good sleep. He basically says, wake up in the morning, the first hour, try not to have caffeine. Then get yourself in sunlight and get light in your eyes to reset your body's natural biological rhythm. So we can go on and on about Dr. Huberman, but that's not the point of this. We're trying to talk about intermittent fasting. So sleep and stress management, and then add salt to your water, you should be good to go. Okay, now moving on to evidence-based fasting tips. So first, can you have caffeine? Well, yes, there's a study done that caffeine can actually enhance fasted workouts. Number 2 is consult your doctor if on any medications. Okay, number 3 is, can you do resistant training, or basically weight training, during fasted states? Well, there was a study done that showed and proved that during fasted states, this can actually aid in muscle retention. This is because all the human growth hormone and the catecholamines being produced in the body will actually keep your muscle. Okay, number 4 is gradually break the extended fast. The worst thing you can do, again, is have a huge meal of carbohydrates and simple sugars. We don't want to do that. So remember, make your meals small. Honestly, one of the best meals is just ground turkey with lettuce and maybe some healthy fats. All right, number 5 is stay active to suppress the hunger. And number 6, manage expectations and be patient. You're not going to suddenly drop 100 pounds overnight. Remember, most studies were showing about 17 to 20 pounds lost over the course of a 2 to 3 month period. Okay, the next one's pretty interesting. Can you use branched-chain amino acids? The correct answer is yes, you can. BCAAs are typically used for extended fasts to maintain muscle. We're talking those 3 to 5 day fasts here. Now, what about tracking tools to track your fasts? Well, the app that I love is called Zero, where it basically is a big timer and you basically just push it and it's going to track how long you've been in a fasted state. My brother, who's a firefighter, loves to use this app, and he's got my mom on it too. Another quick hack is cold exposure, like going into a cold plunge. We can have an entire video on that with Dr. Huberman, but going into a cold plunge actually reduces your body's hunger mechanisms. So go into a cold plunge or simply dip your face in a bucket of ice for about 30 seconds, and that can actually reduce your hunger. Okay, the next tip is critical here. Avoid basing success solely on weight. Remember, muscle weighs more than fat. And when I was a personal trainer, I used to tell people all the time, what do you want to look like, a marble or a big balloon? Well, they're like, the marble. And I'm like, okay, well, what weighs more, the marble or the big balloon? Well, the marble. So don't worry about weight. Worry about measurements and how your clothes fits, or really how you look naked in the mirror, because weight can be very deceiving. All right, the last few things here is that gut health influences fasting ease. So please be sure to be taking a probiotic to regulate your gut health. Because as you know, your gut is your second brain. If your gut health is off, then usually your brain health is off. And one of the last big things, we said it before, but I'll say it again, resist binge eating after you complete your fast. Now, when I first started fasting, I was super guilty of this. I would just eat everything in my sight. But that was until I learned that I should have a fat, a fiber, and a protein to ease my body in, and always go for little portions. My brother still does it. He does a huge portion of all these vegetables and protein, but guys, that's not what we want to do. All right, so in conclusion, intermittent fasting is not just a diet, but it's a transformative lifestyle change that does these 4 things: quicker fat loss, keeping your muscle, mental clarity, and cleans up cellular waste. And they're doing a lot of studies right now that it shows it might prevent cancer as well. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and thank you so much for subscribing and hitting the bell notifications for our future videos.